Hi everyone, and good evening, and welcome to an evening with Fran and Rich, we're very excited to have them for this, our latest webinar about all things living aboard. Fran and Rich from Floating Our Boat, sorry. Yeah, welcome. Thank you all for joining. So without really any further ado, we're really excited to invite Fran and Rich to come and talk to you all and hear about all their adventures and some of the things about living aboard. So over to you, Fran and Rich.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome aboard, Laura Maisie.
Hello, Paul.
Thanks, Paul, for that intro. This is new for us, isn't it? Going live like this. Anyway, I think, first of all, what we'd really like to talk about is motivation and our motivation about doing this lifestyle.
Yeah, so we're going to go back and tell you a little bit of what made us start this journey into getting a boat and the key points that we've made during our 5 years on board that's influenced what we're doing now. And of course, it's a very different lifestyle now to when we first began, isn't it?
Absolutely,
and so
yeah.
just to talk you through that really and give you a little bit of an idea of the personal things that's affected us as well as the material things in regard to the boat.
We've been together now for 8 years, friends, something like that. Been married nearly 4 years, I know that. And the impetus was we got together late in life and we didn't want to work anymore for anybody else. We wanted to spend more time with each other. We were really busy with our jobs at the time, weren't we? We were gardening and other jobs that we were doing to bolster that income to help pay for living. And so anyway, I was watching YouTube and I had been watching all the channels like everybody else does. And one day I popped the question to Fran, how do you fancy living on a narrowboat?
We believe that you're influenced from quite an early age, that you have to follow a set program through life. You're expected to go to work all your working years, have money going into your pension pot, have planned out what you're going to do in your retirement. But because we'd got together so late, there was so much that we wanted to do and we really didn't want to waste that time working. So yeah, Rich popped this question to me about do you fancy living on a narrowboat, and I actually spent a night pacing the floor and doing sums and working out if there was a way that we could do it, and thought, yeah, we had no idea of how long we could afford to do it for, if it was going to be forever. I just said, let's have a go, let's do it, because we've got all the time to do the things that we wanted to do then in life.
We're quite an impulsive couple anyway. We don't spend that long deliberating over issues and our life in the future. We don't try not to think of the future. We're trying to live in the now. But we'd both been through difficult times when we'd met, and I'd lost my wife, as lots of you all know. Fran went through a divorce. And so it was ideal for us just to completely start a whole new life. And boy, did we jump in at the deep end.
Because we gave up what to many and to us at the time seemed like an ideal life. We'd bought a house with a big garden and we were trying to live the good life. We were growing all of our own vegetables, selling food and plants and flowers at country markets. But it still seemed very much like work, didn't it? So we just sold everything that we thought until then was our dream. We sold it, and within 2 months we were on our first boat, weren't we?
We were less than that actually, on our first little boat, Constanza, which was a beautiful little boat, 50-footer, and there she is. But we absolutely adored it, didn't we?
Yeah.
She was rough and ready. She was basic. There wasn't a fridge on board. The shower was really tiny. If we wanted hot water, you had to run the engine.
And it's so true what everybody says, that when you go looking for a boat, you have a list of what you wanted. And even then, we wanted a dinette. We wanted a tug deck, I think.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah.
We wanted a reverse layout. We wanted all these certain things, and we just walked on Constanza, who was then called Rum Smuggler, and that was it. That was it. 2 days later, we were living on her, weren't we?
We were, yeah. And 2 days later, we quickly realised how much work needed doing on Constanza, and the idea was that we would do it all ourselves, but we were more interested in traveling the country, weren't we, than fixing
Yeah.
up the nets, etc., and kitchens. So that went by the way, didn't it?
I mean, initially, I think we were quite realistic, and we'd given ourselves a 2-year practice time to work out what we were doing. And we decided that in 2 years, we'd either go back to land if it wasn't working, but we would try and stay on that long, or we'd just reassess after 2 years, which is exactly what we did. But we travelled all over the country and had so many great experiences, didn't we?
We did. Look, I mean, look at this now. This is currently, this is the lovely map from Joe from YouTube channel Minimalist. All that is in red is everywhere we've been. And there was no way we would have visited all these beautiful places unless we'd have done what we've done. Taken the jump, taken that leap of faith, and just gone in at the deep end, really, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, we've had so many experiences, and I think that first year we travelled so fast, we didn't really lose ourselves into the slow life. It was more about travel than anything else. It was more about seeing places and visiting places, and it was lovely. But after 2 years, we sort of had a rethink then, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We thought, well, are we going to go back to land? Have we done enough of this life? Can we afford to go back to land? But in the end, we decided, yeah, we love this life. We love the canal life. We love traveling. We love the people. So we decided, well, we're going to buy a new boat. Well, we didn't actually decide it, did we? We reversed into Elton Moss Boat Builders for a pump out on the last boat, and bought a boat, didn't we? On the spur of the moment.
But we'd had a little bit of a difficult decision, because we'd actually, in that first year or first 2 years, we'd had a holiday cottage that we'd been letting out, and the plan always was that the holiday cottage would finance our travels. But we were really lucky in a way, because we decided to sell that cottage. We'd run out of money and we had to make the decision. It was sell the cottage or sell the boat. And we just couldn't bring ourselves to go back to land, could we, at that point? So we had to sell the cottage. Then lockdown hit, and it was really good timing, because we wouldn't have been able to afford to keep the cottage during lockdown anyway. There would have been no holiday lets. And of course, you know, that's when this boat came into being, didn't it? And it took, you know, about 9 months, I think, to have this one built. So it was nearly 3 years after we'd first started that we were on Constanza.
And we absolutely adore this boat. It's so comfortable, isn't it? Everything is easy. You know, heating and hot water is at the touch of a switch. We got bow thrusters on the boat to guide the front of the boat. It's really comfortable. We got the dinette that we're sitting on, which is the one thing we really wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of work on the laptop, and we like to play card games and other games at the table. And we do, don't we? It's fabulous.
But life changed, I think, when we moved onto this boat. Everything changed. Constanza was really hard work. We had no heating except for the wood burning stove. So you always had to make sure you had coal or wood, and often we were getting low on supplies of fuel, and we'd have to go out foraging wood if the coal man wasn't coming. That was it. To keep warm, we had to do that. We had no hot water unless the engine was running, so we had to move every few days to get hot water. And it was constantly hard work, and I quite enjoyed that in a way, you know.
Oh, you love to wear a hair shirt, don't you?
That's what comes of being a Londoner, I think, you know, real living. But no, we did, it was hard work. And then suddenly we could relax a little bit, because we know now that if we run out of solid fuel, we can put central heating on. And it is definitely a different life, isn't it?
We are more relaxed on this boat, that's for sure. We've slowed right down since we've been on Laura Maisie. We don't do the miles we used to do. We don't put up as many videos as we used to do. We just absolutely slowed down and just take life day by day, and we're enjoying it even more.
But I think it helped us realise that the whole reason for doing boating, I don't think, was just for travelling. It wasn't for me, although that's what we did in the first few years. It was about enjoying our passions in life as well, which were then we thought it was artwork for you, and my weaving had developed that I was able to sell stuff, which I was amazed about. And so now, because we haven't got to spend so much time we didn't even have a fridge, did we, on
No.
Constanza? You know, I don't know how we survived, but we did.
Getting used to drinking warm beer.
You know, we can actually have meals out of the freezer occasionally now, but we've got more time to be creative, do our artwork, and we've realised that it's more just about being that is what we wanted. It wasn't necessarily just about travelling, although we still love the travelling and we've still got lots of places to see, haven't we?
We're fortunate that we are fortunate. We haven't forgotten that the life we live, we are privileged. And people say, oh, you've retired so early. But to be honest, we haven't retired. We still spend time making videos. It takes a lot of time out of our lives. Fran does her weaving, which we sell online. I do paintings, which we sell online. But we're fortunate in the fact that we are working at the things we like to work at. That's the difference.
Yeah.
We're not working for somebody else, you know.
Yeah.
And we are fortunate, and I don't think we'll ever forget that.
But in order to do that, we've got to live simply, and that's the answer. You know, we do live very, very cheaply. I think cheaper than anybody else that I know. Our outgoings are quite small. The way we eat, the way we clothe ourselves, because we're trying to live within that income that we're creating, aren't we?
And it is cheaper living on a narrowboat than living on land. We did a cost evaluation, didn't we? I think it was 18 months or so ago, and it worked out that once you've bought the boat and without clothing and without food, it was costing us somewhere in the region of £10 a day to live, to have this boat on the water and to travel, and that included fuel, etc. So it is a cheap way of living, but it has its problems. It isn't easy sometimes, is it?
No, it isn't easy. And the one thing that I would say to anybody that's thinking of doing this is if you've got problems in a relationship and you think this might be the answer to go off and start a new life and try some adventuring, let's get a narrowboat and go travelling. Just don't do it. Because you really have got to have a strong relationship to live in a tiny place, a tiny space like this. And sometimes we get questions that you know, a man might send in and say he wants to do it and his wife doesn't want to do it. What should he do? Or vice versa. And I really don't know what to say, because I just don't know what to say. No. You know, you've both got to want it, haven't you? Really, with a willing heart and have a go. I never knew that this life was going to suit me so well until we tried it.
It actually suits you more than me most of the time, doesn't it? I'm the one that gets a bit fed up occasionally, especially in the winter when it's dark at 4 o'clock, you know, and you're closing the curtains and you're in a steel tube. So it has its problems. It can have its issues. You've got to really get on with the partner you're living with. But if you live on your own, that's fine, obviously. You've got to get on with yourself. But yeah, so in a nutshell, that's it. But what are we doing now? What does the future hold for us?
Come this spring and the end of last winter, we still felt unsettled. You know, you'd think we've now got everything we want. We've got this beautiful boat that can last us as long as we live, hopefully. But we've both got green fingers. And we were both itching to grow something, weren't we?
We were itching to get our hands in the ground again, yeah.
But I don't think it's just about growing. It's a whole lifestyle thing. We've got tired of not being able to eat and live as we want. And we can't afford to buy a nice big patch of land and build a little house in it and live in the middle of nowhere. It's just not on the cards for us. So we had to work out a way of doing that simple living as we can, and that's what prompted us to find a little bit of land, isn't it, to grow on.
Yeah, so we've got this lovely mooring in the deepest depths of Yorkshire. It's just a handkerchief little plot that there it is on the screen, that we've managed to cultivate, if you like, and we're already eating from it. In 2 months, we're eating every day from our plot, whether it's just salad leaves or turnips are the thing at the moment.
Yes.
Baldrick.
Yes, we're having turnip salads and turnip all sorts. But it's the eating fresh food, eating well, having somewhere just to sit. And we're working outdoors as well now. I've been weaving outdoors. You're yet to paint outdoors, but you will be, won't you? Yeah. Because we still, and I admit, we did think again about going back to land. We even thought about buying a flat and going back to land and getting an allotment to grow on. But there's something about the borders, the boundaries of living on land with neighbours and brick walls. I just don't think we're not there yet.
It's not for us.
We're not there.
Not for us.
And we still want to travel. So that's where we are, really.
And what's next? We don't know. We don't know how long we'll be here, do we? We don't know how long we'll be on a mooring, but we don't care. We're just living in the now.
We don't tend to think about that. We know that we're okay now, and we know that there are options in the future, you know. So that's it. That's where we are.
That's us in a potted history.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it's so nice to sort of, it's one of those things you always wonder about, is living in quite a confined space. Can put, as you say, can put quite a pressure on someone's relationship, but you seem to have grown stronger which is great. We're going to start back at the beginning, I think. We're going to go back. How did you choose what possessions you took from your house with you? Because obviously you came from sort of houses. How did you choose what you took with you, what didn't come with you, and all that sort of thing?
We weren't worried about furniture and material things like that, were we? Television. We don't have a television on the boats. When we want to watch stuff, we watch it on a laptop. So we got rid of everything, didn't we?
Because we'd not been together that long, we'd actually furnished our house at the time. Even then, a lot of that stuff came from second-hand shops and charity shops, and it was stuff that we'd accumulated together. So there weren't many things that had years of memories behind them. It was all quite new stuff. So we have got a lock-up, and it's tiny. How big is our lock-up?
5 foot by 8 foot.
It's got a few of Rich's bikes in it. I think quite a few of your bikes in there that you can.
And all the personal treasures, photographs and jewellery, you know, not that we've got expensive jewellery, but everything that means something to us, and most of it is books as well, is in that lockup. So, you know, you have to really think, do I treasure what we've got in the house, or do I really want this lifestyle?
For me, it wasn't a struggle, actually. No. And I remember we'd only just decided to buy the boat, and it was Christmas. And when we took the Christmas tree down, I got a shoebox that big, and we decided that all the Christmas decorations had to fit in that shoebox. That's all we can fit. And that's still going now, isn't it? The shoebox Christmas. So yeah, it was fine. It wasn't, we're not materialistic people, so it was quite easy for us.
Next question, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. As a first-time boat buyer, do you think it's a good idea to buy through a broker? Did you buy your first boat through a broker, or?
No, actually, we bought our boat from a YouTuber who had a channel going for a few months or so, and because we kind of knew him and we'd been watching the boat on the channel, we were quite confident, weren't we, that everything would be all right. In retrospect, I'd probably go through a broker. You know, next time. I mean, next time, I would probably go through a broker, because you've got that little bit of confidence there that you know, it's been surveyed, etc. We didn't even have a survey, did we? We just took it on, you know. And
you don't hear many bad stories about people buying them privately, but we were just lucky that we knew this person, didn't we?
And I would I would also buy secondhand first time round. Because you don't know what you want unless you've been and lived on a boat. You really don't know how you want things arranging on the boat. So I would always buy secondhand first.
Yeah, definitely.
And had we spent a few more grand on the first boat, we probably wouldn't have this boat, would we?
Well, that's always true. You know, we might have just spent more on a boat, bought a better boat. I don't want to knock Constanza, don't listen, Constanza, but bought a more comfortable boat, and we could have still been on it now. But you can't regret anything or do anything differently. No. But definitely, I would never say buy a new boat first, because you just don't know, do you?
Yeah, so it's all good, sensible advice. No, very good advice. And you've obviously got Jess and Archie on board with you. So how do you cope with muddy tow paths and dogs keeping your boat clean inside and all that sort of thing?
How do you manage that, Fran?
Yeah, you actually have to be quite relaxed and take a step back from it. You know, if you want a show home and you want everything pristine, don't have dogs on a boat. We chose wooden floor on this because we know that any mud the dogs bring in will dry within half an hour. We can vacuum, sweep, mop, and it's gone.
Archie the Spaniel's the muckiest one, isn't he? He'll get absolutely filthy. So when he's really bad, we'll just get a soapy bucket out the back and wash him down and then dry him off as best we can, and let him on.
Fortunately, he does like a swim, so we can
Yeah.
always send him off. Even midwinter, we can send him off for a swim. We've got a pile of old towels at the back of the boat, so they just get a really good rub down. And in the winter, it's fine. They'll just snuggle in front of the fire and dry off. Well, I say that Archie doesn't actually, because Archie he likes to run around the boat.
Yeah, when he's wet, he flounces around, doesn't he?
But I just think it's a case of being quite relaxed about it. And if you're going to get stressed about a little bit of mud on your boat, you're in for a bad time, because it is going to get muddy. Just relax.
That's the inverter fan in the background going off.
And we're getting into some of the really practical sort of stuff now. How do you deal with post when you're continuously cruising?
Post?
What's post? We have everything you possibly can. You have via email, all your bank statements, etc. come to us by email. There are certain things you cannot avoid, like driving licenses. You've got to have a driving license with an address. So we use our daughter's house. We use her as a correspondence address, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
And anything important gets sent to her, and then next time we see her, we'll pick it up.
Parcels, you can nowadays get things delivered via delivery agencies, DPD and pickup points. So we do get stuff sent. If we want to buy anything, we can get them sent by a pickup point. And you can also get things delivered to post offices addressed post restant if you have an agreement with your local post office, but it doesn't always work out. It's a bit
Not
hit and
all of
miss.
them do it, do they? No, it is a hit and miss.
I mean, fortunately nowadays most things can be paper free. It's just the odd thing, and you know, some obscure things like our boat license. We have to have an address to get a boat license, even though we're telling them we're living on the boat.
Yeah.
Which always seems a bit bizarre to me, but it can be tricky, but there's ways around it. You just need that one official address really for your bank and driving licenses and things. So.
Well, yeah, it's always a tricky one, isn't it? Because it's one of the things you're always between places, or in a with a continuous cruising thing. I know you've got the plot of land now. It's kind of, but you move on so much, and
you always have
all the stuff.
You always have to look ahead to where you're going to be,
Yeah.
and then if you order something from Amazon, you order it to be delivered at the next town, for instance. You know, so.
And unfortunately, the world hasn't moved on, and it still thinks that the rules are that you have to have an address. And even it was one optician I went to. I don't know if it's Boots, Specsavers, whoever. They just couldn't believe that I didn't have an address, and argued with me to say, you must have an address. Everybody's got an address. And I said, no, I haven't. I stuck to my ground and said, I don't have an address. And they just couldn't believe it and couldn't cope. The computer was going crazy.
We don't have an address here, for instance. Now, a lot of moorings will have an address, but we don't. So we're still in a continuous cruising sort of mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
I suppose it can be quite, and following on from that, John and Sue, who met you at Crick, have asked how do you manage regular access to medical care and all that sort of thing?
This is the biggest question I think we always get asked. In 5 years, I've only had to once, fortunately, touch wood, go and see a doctor, and that was 2 months ago in near Keighley. And we put it off and we put it off. Well, I did. Fran was always telling me to go and see the doctor, and we put it off and put it off. And it was so easy. We just walked in, told them our situation. We registered as a temporary patient, and a couple of days later, they phoned up and says, right, book an appointment. So we booked an appointment, saw the doctor, got seen, no problem. Everything was fine. I had to go to the hospital to have a check. Everything was okay, no problem.
Everybody is entitled to have a GP, be registered in a GP. And if you go to a local GP and they refuse to register you, they're wrong. And you might sometimes have to argue, but you just have to stand your ground. But as you say, for emergency stuff, you just go in and say you're visiting the area, and you can be seen, very quickly.
You've been twice to a GP, haven't you, in the last 5 years?
Yeah.
Fortunately, not soon, but not recently. But both times you've had no problem registering temporarily.
None. Absolutely none. So it really isn't a problem. It's just another one of those things we tend to think we've got to have a doctor that we've had for years and that we know but things change, things have changed. And also, of course, now a lot of things are done online. So even if you manage to stay registered with your GP that you're already with now, which you can do, prescriptions can be sent to anywhere in the country, and consultations can be done online. Even routine checkups like diabetic checks can all be done online. So it isn't such a problem anymore. No.
You kind of preempted the next question, was about repeat prescriptions, but you just said that's all online and easily accessible.
You just tell them where you're going to be and they can send them through, I think.
Yeah, I think Boots do it countrywide, don't they? You can have your prescription sent to Boots, but fortunately we don't have to, so I'm not sure. We haven't tried it out, to be honest.
And Andy and Sally have asked, anything you'd recommend for a boat to accommodate grandchildren when they stay at weekends at a time?
Don't have them. Simple.
A small cage, maybe? No.
Cage.
I'll take traction on the back. I guess we've got a small granddaughter who's 3 that has been to the boat, but only visited 4 days and hasn't stayed on here. So I guess for security, you'd have to have stair gates on the doors to stop them climbing out. And windows. You see plenty of boats with small children on, don't you? And there's other YouTubers out there now that have had or are having babies, so they're probably the ones to ask. But when you think back over the years, you know, boating families lived on tiny boats with all their children. So yeah, I would say teach children to swim utmost.
And go for it. I mean, it's quite fun for a little kid to be on a narrowboat down the country. That would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah. So just embrace it. And be prepared. Yeah,
because it's got to be important, because obviously safety is all important, and there's water all around you. So yes, learning to swim, just keeping an eye out for them, really, I suppose, is hugely important.
It's, you know, you can't always let your fears stop. This is the thing, isn't it? People let fears stop children having fun and enjoying life. And what a fantastic experience for a little one to go off, be on a boat and go cruising, you know, just life jackets and precautions. Yeah.
And I mean, just from that, I know you've done both, but and I know where you are, it's kind of a permanent mooring, but do you recommend having a permanent mooring, or just being the freedom that you've always had? This is from Malcolm Hasler, by the way. Or just permanently roam? Do you think it's better to have a permanent base and just go out and do the things, or do you think it's better to just continuously?
It's really down to the individual, isn't it? If you fancy a base where you can come back to all the time, we're quite enjoying it now. I'm going out for trips and then just popping back to our little base where our garden is. That's fine. But I think continuously cruising is the best way. It has to be. And not knowing where you're going to end up. You know, we get to a junction. We've done it before. We've tossed a coin. We got to a junction and tossed a coin to see which way we're going to go, haven't we? But
it's only the garden. I think that's the reason that we're staying here in one place. And already we're planning further cruises, aren't we? And we're just enjoying going away for a weekend. If we could take the garden with us, then I would continually cruise. And people have suggested that we have a boat, tow a boat with a garden,
and some chickens.
You know, and I will talk about that now, because I have seen that done. But you can't water a garden. You can't water vegetables when you're travelling on a boat. You can't use canal water to grow vegetables
unless you filter it, of course.
So it's just too difficult. But it's, as you said, it's a personal thing, isn't it? We can't possibly answer that. We've only done this, we've only been here for 2 months. In a year's time, we might be climbing the walls to get away and go travelling again.
We jumped at the chance of this little mooring here, because they're like hen's teeth, aren't they? Little moorings like this up and down the canal. They're really, you know, sought after. So this opportunity came along, so we jumped at it. And at the moment, we're enjoying it. 2 years' time, who knows? We don't know.
The 2-year itch will come in and we'll be somewhere else.
You'll head down south and onto the Thames or something. And
you know, you say that, but we have actually said that, you know, we might stay up here for 2 years, and when we've walked all the hills and walked all the canals and done what we want to do, we might look for a mooring somewhere else and set up again.
Closer to family down south.
Who knows? But yeah, at the moment it's lovely.
Love the Thames, going up North Thames, isn't it? Up to
Lechlade.
Oh man,
yeah,
beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of answered Sean Cameron's question about getting a butty and putting an allotment on the back of it. So yeah, we've covered that
Sean,
one off quite nicely.
it has been done.
Is that our
Sean
friend Sean?
James
Yeah.
Cameron. Yeah, it has been done, but nobody's videoing it. So I would
Yeah,
say
there you
if you
go.
want to have a go, then get going on it. I'd be interested to watch.
It would be quite interesting to, whether when you get all the beanstalk boom poles up and all that sort of stuff, you sort of start growing it all. It could be quite an interesting concept, really.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
No.
I mean, a nice little sort of follow on from that. If you had, I mean, you continuously cruise, it's all this thing, but if you had to be trapped on one section of canal, this is Paul Smith Stories asked this. What area would you choose?
Hello, Paul. Oh, that is really difficult. We fell in love with the Peak Forest Canal in Derbyshire, didn't we? That was wonderful.
Yeah.
But anywhere, to be honest, this canal is gorgeous. The countryside around here is fantastic. And we haven't explored it enough quite yet, have we? We've got to get out and about a bit more.
This has got to take some beating, to be honest.
Leeds and Liverpool Canal, where we are now, takes some beating. Yeah.
The only problem is that I know that this canal has problems with low water in summer. With
swing bridges and so many swing bridges. They're hard work, aren't they?
Or as we get older and we're not so agile, maybe the Ashby Canal.
Ashby Canal's lovely, isn't it?
You haven't got the locks
no
on
locks
there.
Yeah.
This is just thinking ahead.
Although Simon Hamilton's just messaged in to say, when are you going to visit them on the Lancaster Canal?
Yes.
Well, that was the plan for this summer. Well, we were going to go down this autumn, one of the last crossings across the Ribble Link. But now we've got this, and the most of the bookings were booked up, I think, as well.
I think
we can't leave this, can we?
We were going to do it for summer, weren't we, originally? I think we were going to go across for summer, but of course we can't be away for summer now because that's when we're growing. And the other option is that when is it open? It's only from,
I think it's just September,
April to
September, I think. Yeah.
So the other option is that we could go over in September. But that would mean leaving the boat and the garden right until April, which is a little bit long
time. But
so
I think it'd be worth it, though, to be honest.
Yeah, we would love to do it. We would love to do it. So we just have to see.
And so this year, Luke Garner's just said, if you've got any plans of where you're going to travel over the rest of this year, you've sort of just covered a bit of that off. Are you sort of mainly staying where you are and around the area?
We're taking days out. We just come back last week from a 5-day cruise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Down to almost into Burnley and back, and that was lovely, wasn't it? Looking at things we hadn't seen before, and there's so much to explore. Everybody that watches our channel will know that we don't just stick to the canal. We move out into the environs and go exploring, so there's plenty of that to be done here.
We will go travelling come autumn, but it's absolutely no point in us planning until we know what the closures are going to be, winter closures. Because whatever plans we make, that's going to be closed. We know that. It always is. So as soon as the closures are announced in August, we'll sit and make some plans and maybe do 2 long cruises, maybe just 1 long one over the winter. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I suppose the canals are a bit quieter in winter, aren't they?
It's all right. I'm telling Fran to get her hands off the table. The computer's doing this, shaking the table. Sorry, Paul, what was you saying?
Yeah, I suppose that's because one of the questions sort of came to mind when you talk about the continuous cruising. Is it difficult to find places to stay overnight, or is it relatively easy? Have you ever had problems or anything like that? Or
we've never had any problems whatsoever. The biggest problem we had was some kids banging on the roof once, wasn't it? The canal system is so safe. I can vouch for that.
It really is easier though. This weekend we cruised off. There was an open garden scheme in a nearby village, so it wasn't very far away, but it took us 2 days to get there. So we took the boat, and then quickly realised that it was holiday season. There were holiday boats out, and there weren't many moorings left, were there?
No, that's tight, wasn't it?
That's the problem, is that there sometimes are not enough mooring spots on the canals. But if you're prepared to just stick pins in and maybe gangplank to the side, which we do, then it's fine. Yeah.
Excellent. And Laura and Sean have asked, what's the most tricky, difficult plant or veg you have had to try to grow on the boat, either successful or unsuccessful?
On the boat, I didn't have a lot of success. I was so keen, wasn't I, to grow stuff on the boat, on the roof. We had courgettes, which never really
No,
developed.
because they need to be in a really big pot, don't they? Courgettes,
Yeah,
so they didn't have a big enough pot.
French beans, it's always the salad leaves are a must, because even on Constanza we had salad leaves all summer long to eat. We grew little cherry tomatoes really well on the roof.
I don't think there's anything you can't grow. If you put your heart and mind to it, if you really want to, then you will.
Yeah.
You know, but we weren't that worried about growing potatoes, for instance, you know, because of space. But
people even do that in bags in their well decks. If you want to give your boat over to it, I've seen boats with their roofs just covered with vegetables and plants. It's just a little bit of a compromise. For us, sometimes it was restricting our view. I know courgette plants, you used to moan like mad about my courgette plants on Constanza because we couldn't see where we were going. They'd got so big on the roof. I've seen runner beans growing up and trailing around doors on boats. So
be as creative as you like.
Yeah. And obviously if you're not continually cruising, then it's so much easier. You can grow all over the roof. But if you've got tunnels and things like that, it's not so easy, is it?
No.
Yeah.
And we've had a question coming from all the way from America, from Carol. I love how your garden is growing on land. What are you feeding the soil and plants to make them so healthy?
Nothing, are we? You're making your brew, aren't you?
As usual, I'm making a witch's brew up from comfrey and nettle leaves.
Oh boy, does it stink.
So basically you just bung them into a bucket or a container, fill it up with chopped up nettles and water and leave it for a couple of weeks, and the nettles break down to make this stinky brown liquid, and we're watering once a week with that, aren't we, at the moment? We did have we had to make the beds from scratch and the ground wasn't great, so there is some farmyard manure in the bottom, isn't there, on it? But that's it, that's all the food that we're using at the moment, and so far they're doing really well. But last night we were invaded, weren't we?
Yes.
By the biggest slugs that you've ever seen anywhere. So the next brew is going to be garlic tea that I've got to make and spray everything. The neighbours are going to love us, aren't they? There will be so many vacancies on this mooring spot soon. Because we're going to use garlic tea all over them next to keep the bugs away.
Not on the salad leaves though. They can't put garlic tea
ready
on
dressed
garlic leaves, with salad, garlic salad.
Well, I'm not sure how to put this to you now, Rich, because the way you're talking there is kind of like, Maureen and Doug have both asked, when are you going to produce your cookbook?
There you go, friend. This is a regular question as well, isn't it? Everybody loves your little cooking incidences. Segments on the video.
Incident is probably better, actually. I'm amazed really, because I never ever considered myself a great cook. The recipes that we've done on the videos have all been things that I think are appropriate for narrowboat living, i.e. they're store cupboard ingredients, especially during the winter. We tend to stockpile certain things in the cupboards that if you can't get to the shops for days, you've got something there. I'm not a creator. I don't think I'm a creative cook, so I'm always a bit amazed at this, really.
I think you're a practical and a good cook, and the food you cook is good.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it's about the fact that it's not just, it's not all bought from the supermarket and all that sort of stuff. You go and forage and cook up all the stuff that all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there.
The foraging is a tricky one, because I'm very nervous that if I put something in there and people pick the wrong thing,
you're nervous.
I could be in a lot of trouble. So there's not going to be a foraging cookbook or a foraging book anytime soon. We have thought about writing a book of some kind.
Let's mulling that over at the moment, aren't we?
So whether there would be room for some recipes in there, at the moment there is a recipe section on the website, isn't there? Which,
floatingourboat.com.
I must do more of. But I don't know, maybe a winter project sometime. But
But there's quite a few questions around this sort of thing. I mean, the next one is from Andy and Sally, which is, how do you get on with your chili penguin stove? They're looking at Betang, the tool to cook on our boat. Would you recommend it? Let's put it that way.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
You get so much
Yeah.
use out of it. I mean, I have to say, I can cook, but I don't enjoy cooking. So it's very rarely. I'll do breakfasts and lunches, but evening meals, 99 out of 100 you'll cook, won't you?
And
but
you do wash up afterwards.
I do wash up,
Wash up. The stove is brilliant, especially in the winter. We make nearly all of our bread. We very rarely buy bread. In the summer, that's made in the Mr. D's thermal cooker all winter. As soon as the fire is alight, the bread is cooked in the fire. And soups, casseroles all go in the oven. You can cook on an ordinary stove as well. We did on the last one. You just put your pots on the top, but the oven, you know, we're making cakes in it. I'm making your rhubarb crumble in it. And it's lovely, and it just looks nice as well. And we've never known a fire. We've had quite a few wood burning stoves in our houses and various places. This is so easy to light.
So easy to light, and it gets hot really quickly as well, doesn't it? Which is fantastic. Yeah.
So we're really pleased with it. And
fully recommend it.
Chile Penguin have been quite good to us as well. We've lost our chimney, didn't we? And we've had a new one, or a chimney cowl, got a new one sent out, and you know, they've been good people to deal with as well.
Yeah, easy people to deal with, and they do what they say when they say they're going to do it, don't they? So all thumbs up with that one.
A good comment from Sean coming in about, I think your comments about the snails. At least you can throw slugs and snails into the canal.
Oh, that's just downright cruel, Sean.
Fran's leaning towards Buddhism, so that's a no-no.
At the moment they're getting launched into the cowfield next to us, but I know they are supposed to come home.
They got a homing instinct, haven't they?
You know, I figure it might take them a little while, but
I'm looking out the window for them as well.
We've decided now we're going to do three evening checks, like 7, 8 and 9 o'clock, or 8, 9, 10 o'clock, go out there. And that we must eventually, they must get fed up with being flung over into the cowfield, mustn't they? So
it'd be the first ones you throw are probably coming back now, and the rest of them all still sort of wondering what's going on. Okay, is there a best season for a new narrowboater to join the lifestyle, such as spring, summer, winter? A question from Sean.
Hi, Sean. Winter.
Yeah.
If you can survive a winter, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
We did. We started just at in February, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And when we picked our first boat up, we were actually frozen in, so we couldn't move for a couple of days, could we? So yeah.
And shortly after that, we had to have the stove replaced or reset, didn't we? Because it wasn't safe. It had not been bolted down. We had to have a new chimney put onto it. And it was freezing, and we had no stove for 2 days and somebody working. We actually had to sleep under double duvets and get dressed in the middle of the night because we were so cold. So once you get through that, it's easy running, isn't it? I think if you was to start in the summer, when it's all so lovely and easy, winter might suddenly hit you a bit hard. But that certainly I would think autumn, maybe end of autumn. Let yourself in a little bit gently, but do a winter. Yeah. Don't let people put you off of winter cruising.
It's our favourite time, isn't it? Absolutely favourite time of the year, winter cruising. You can see through the trees, the views. The canals are really quiet, and we just love it.
And it's so cozy. Nobody yet has dared to ask, is it cold on a boat? But it's just so cozy in the winter. Yeah.
That's what log burners for, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know we have actually considered getting a diesel stove as well. Rich has had a bit of an asthma allergy problem over the last couple of years, and there's no getting away from it that solid fuel stoves can be messy.
They are
and
dusty, aren't they?
You do have a layer of dust over everything in the winter. You have to keep on top of it. But I just love the wood burning and the coal burning stove. Just love it. Yeah.
There's something very romantic about it, isn't it, in a way?
And we are romantic.
Well, yeah, exactly. You said that earlier. And can you recommend a minimum comfortable size of narrowboat for a couple? From Malcolm.
Our first boat was 50 foot, as we said, and that was fine because 90% of the time you're in this space here in the saloon, aren't you? Yeah. Or the kitchen, dinette, and saloon. So it doesn't matter what length your boat is. More or less, this is the same in most boats, isn't it? Yeah. Same length. So yeah, 50 foot, 45 foot minimum, I suppose, would be fine for living on board. Otherwise, if you're recreational using it, then any size, fine.
We've met a couple of times on the canals, and they've I think it's only 40 foot their boat, but they have to make their bed up. They're
35 foot. That's beautiful.
And they're very happy. It's beautiful, but they just have to actually put the slats across the bed each night, take the sofa apart, put slats in and turn it into a bed every night. But they're quite happy with that. And of course, it's so much easier to move around and so much easier to keep warm. But I guess you've really got to be quite minimalistic and quite organised to do that. And maybe not with 2 dogs. Yeah,
no, maybe not.
50 foot, we were fine on 50 foot.
Yeah,
You know, we enjoy 58, but 50 foot was fine. Yeah.
I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier about you learn from your first boat purchase, don't you? So your second one, which is why I go second hand with your first boat, because you learn from that to make sure you get, not necessarily get it right for the second one, but you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Your experience tells you what you need.
It does indeed. I mean, on the last boat, the one thing we always wanted, and we looked at having it retrofitted so many times, was a dinette like this, somewhere to sit and be and congregate in the evening together, and just so you're opposite each other, looking and talking. Having a dinette is the thing, I think, don't you?
It is, yeah. But in fact, the dinette very, very easily and quickly converts to a bed.
Don't tell the family.
Yeah, we haven't told them that yet because we don't want them staying too often. But we have actually considered letting you have the bedroom as an art studio and using this as our bed, you know, and just living in this space and then having that as a studio on the back.
And of course, because it converts into a bed, sorry folks, because it converts into a bed, we have said in the depths of winter when it's really cold that we'd sleep in here because the fire's in here, but we never did we?
We did it once. I think
we did it once.
Yeah.
But we do like a cold bedroom anyway, don't we? So
yeah.
Oh yeah, well we know someone who slept on that dinette, I think, from the Coast to Canal video, don't we?
We do.
She did, yeah.
Kate's asked a question. What are your top storage tips?
The top storage tip is don't have so much rubbish that you have to store. Just bring along with you the bare essentials, because believe me, you soon quickly fill up your spaces along the way, don't you?
Yeah,
We've been on here for 2 years now, and these storage units under the seats are chock-a-block. Chock-a-block with stuff.
So much more stuff on this boat than we had on Constanza, because we've got the space, we've just filled it. But everything should have 2 purposes as well, 2 uses. Don't ever have anything that's single use for one thing. Everything is going to be useful for 2 things at least. And clothes is the interesting one, isn't it? Because we redesigned our bedroom on this and ended up with less wardrobe space than Elton Moss would normally put on a boat, because we wanted bookshelves. That was important to us. But clothes, we haven't got that many, but then I buy from charity shops. So when I'm bored, get rid of them and buy something new, and everything gets rolled up.
One thing we quite like is under the gunnel here, this storage space, it's about that wide, and it goes from sort of waist height down to the ground, down to the floor. That's an ideal space that we could put doors on that, sliding doors, and have shelves in there that would fit books and
More
tins
stuff.
in the kitchen area. That would be great for putting tins of food, wouldn't it? It'd brilliant, yeah.
It's our boat isn't particularly gimmicky when it comes to storage. Some boats builders put in sliding cupboards, sliding racks that come out of cupboards. We actually haven't got anything like that on here.
One of those carousel things, is that what they call them? In the kitchen, in the galley cupboards. They're brilliant, because we haven't got that in here, and we wish we had. Friends of ours have, and it works really well, doesn't it?
But you just get used to it, and you do have to have a little bit of discipline, I think, don't you, with stuff. That's the one as well.
Just take the bare essentials with you, because you'll soon fill up the cupboards.
And you don't miss what you haven't got, to be honest. This goes back right to your earlier question about what did you decide to bring with you. We very rarely, I don't think ever, say, why didn't we bring that? Why didn't we have that with us? Because you don't think about things. You just, you work with what you've got.
It's an interesting one that when you sort of mention books and things like that, because are you the one of the people that sort of likes to keep their books, or are you happy to sort of, because there's lots of places around where you can just go and swap them around with, get the old red post boxes with book swap things in them and things like that. Do you take advantage of those?
We do. Well, there's a lot of villages have telephone boxes, don't they, filled with books nowadays. Lots of people say to us, excuse me, have a Kindle. We've both got Kindles for reading because that saves a lot of space, but we can't bear it. I can't bear reading from a Kindle from a screen. We much prefer having a physical copy in your hands. But we tend to keep the books we like. Yeah. If we've read a book and we really have enjoyed it, we keep it. Yeah. Not that we read it ever again particularly, but it's nice to pass on to people,
especially if it's a hardback book. Yeah. But I think we have got better at sharing. There's other boaters around that we know have got similar tastes, and so I've sent quite a few books off to Chris and Shell, but the trouble is that they send me books back again, so I haven't made any space. I've just got more things to find. But that is a bit of a downfall for us, isn't it?
Books. We've got we have got a lot of bookshelves on this boat in the bedroom and also here in the lounge area. But that's our thing.
We actually do think sometimes Rich is quite, not, I wouldn't say obsessed, but he's quite convinced that the boat is tilting a little bit this way, and all the books are on this side of the boat, and we do think we've over ballasted it a little bit, and we might have to get underneath and take some of the ballast out of this side and put on that side, because this is where the bookshelves are. But that's what it'll have to be. Books are ballast.
That's a very good ballast to have, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Sally and Ann Carter have asked, having previously had a boat without a bow thruster and now having one on your current boat, which do you prefer?
The last boat didn't need a bow thruster. It was only 50 feet long, so there's no way you need a bow thruster on a 50-foot boat. I think so anyway. But having had one, and we asked not to have one on this boat, but it was already fitted when the shell was built. It's a boon. It really is. It does make such a difference to turning the boat, going into locks. Occasionally you'll misjudge it and just give the bow thruster a blast and it rights you. But whenever we want to turn this boat, it's always windy for some reason or other, and it does help. It just spins the boat round quicker for you, gets you out of trouble.
I think I'm glad that we didn't have them on the first boat, because we know how to drive without them now.
But we don't.
And in fact, when we first got them, I was a nightmare because I couldn't work out which button was for which bow thruster.
And out of principle as well, you refused to use them, didn't you, for the first few months? I'm just going to switch the bow thrusters on.
I was a bit bloody minded about it, but I'm bow thruster queen now.
Yeah, they call it the scream of shame when you hear somebody's bow thrusters going.
There's just times, if you're going into a lock and you've got another boat coming in with you, you can just literally move sideways across with the bow thrusters, and it would take you ages to do that if you were just trying to steer the boat in, wouldn't it?
And reversing is so much easier with a bow thruster. It takes all the effort out of reversing, doesn't it?
Yes.
Just use the front as a rudder,
Rich is a demon now, reversing.
I think we trained Dee quite well on the old bow thruster, didn't we?
Yeah, not well enough.
The den's still there. And what changes would you make, and would a level of remote control be helpful? I mean, would you make any changes regarding that, or?
No, I don't think we'd ever go remote control. We know a solo cruiser, don't we? She's got remote control on her boat, and she swears by it. But then again, it's a solo boater. Why not have it if you can? So, but we wouldn't bother. We don't need it, do we?
I would be a bit nervous about sending your boat off when you've just got this. I need to have a rope in my hand all the time, I think. But it's not particularly us, is it? We're not gadget gimmicky people, are we?
Well, you're not.
Well, that's true. I'm not. You might be. I'm surrounded by your little bits and pieces, but I don't know.
Nah.
No. I think we've spoken about the next question before, because Sean's kind of covered it in please explain your internet setup, and we've also asked before what's your favorite gadget, and I think they're kind of one and the same, aren't they?
Favorite gadget? Am I missing something, Paul?
The Wi-Fi thing.
Yeah, this is amazing. Oh, see what you hear. There we go. This is our Wi-Fi. It's a MiFi device. It's run with EE service provider, and this is a high-tech underpants hook for hooking on the curtain rail. And lots of people spend lots of money on Wi-Fi capabilities on their boat. We just use this. It does let you down now and again. If you really, really, really need faultless Wi-Fi, don't have this. But 99% of the time, this is fine. And it's cheap and it's easy. And we upload massive files to YouTube. And this doesn't do it super fast, but it does it. You know, instead, so, you know, it's uploading a file takes 2 hours sometimes. Well, sometimes it's taken a whole day, hasn't it? But
sometimes you even have to go to the pub.
Yeah, yeah, pint of Wi-Fi, they call it. But yeah, this is brilliant. This is just a MiFi gadget from EE. And it works really well.
Is that your favourite gadget? How about all your camera stuff?
Yeah.
Oh.
And your drone?
Well, we need that for the videos, don't we? So.
Yeah, it's good gadget. I think the gadget is the sort of the clip for the pants really that hangs it up there.
I think so. I mean, that's like that's state of the art, and I think we might be marketing floating our boat ones of these because that was ingenious, wasn't it? Yeah, there we go. And
is mobile reception pretty good? I suppose is probably the next one. There are some blind spots, I would have thought.
Yeah, there are blind spots, and we spent the whole of last summer with our friends from One Day More Aboard on the east side of the Midlands, going up the River Severn, the River Trent and the River Soar, and down to Lincoln and Boston. It is awful. That side of the country is awful.
And Oxford as well. Going down to
brilliant,
Oxford
was it?
not good, was it?
No. But here, this is fantastic. The upload and download speed from this is brilliant. I mean, it's not fantastic, you know, but it does what we want it to do. We can stream films, you know, so that's good.
It was would have been the deal breaker for the mooring. Once we'd found this mooring spot, which, as you say, are like, you know, hen's teeth. They're so difficult. If the internet or the phone signal had been no good, we wouldn't have done it. We can manage for 3 or 4 days when we're out and about with no signal. It's quite nice. But to be somewhere all the time, you know, we've had incidences in the past when the family have tried to get hold of us and couldn't. So it is important that, and we used to be on different networks as well, just to cover ourselves, so that if yours wasn't available, mine was. But we're on the same now, aren't we?
Yeah, EE, that's the one.
Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah.
As done now. I mean, do you guys have phones on different networks just to sort of cover it off, or is it just
Fran was saying we used to. Fran used to have Vodafone, and we've had 3 in the past, and now we've gone back to EE because it's by far the best, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of the boaters out there reading the discussion forums on Facebook, etc., will agree. You know.
Yeah.
Not the cheapest, but they do the job.
I mean, it's one of those things. I think with the modern society, is kind of how it's become an important part of the whole life aboard sort of thing, hasn't it?
Yeah. And especially for us, we're uploading videos, as I said, but also we don't have a television, so we haven't got an aerial for television. But now and again, we like to watch movies, stream films, and the odd nature programs or whatever, and you need it. You need it these days.
I think so. And it is. I mean, you go back sort of 10-15 years, it wasn't even in existence. People had to go to cinema and stuff, so it's kind of it is one of those huge developments that sort of happened fairly recently, I suppose. And
as much as you like to think in a way that when you're on the boat, you're away from the outside world, and we come on here and we're on the little canal world, detached from everything else. It is still important to be able to make contact, isn't it, with the outside world as well. You just feel very isolated, I think, if you couldn't.
And Philip, I mean, kind of in the same sort of vein, Philip Holliday's just questioning, what's your electrical setup? Alternator, solar, inverter, batteries, all that sort of thing. And have you ever thought about upgrading to lithium?
Oh.
This is one of our favorite. This is as an insurance company, this is one of our favorite questions.
We've got batteries. We've got a 3 kilowatt Victron inverter on an MPT thing or other, whatever that means. We as you can tell, we're not electrical savvy. It works fine. It's absolutely brilliant. The inverter has just been kicking in. The fan's been on and off this evening. It always does at this time of year. But it works fine. We've got 5 leisure batteries. They're brilliant. And after 2 years, they're still providing all the power we need. And we're not power hungry, are we, on this boat?
I think that's one of the key things really, is that we've got nothing apart from the computer stuff. There's hardly anything electrical, is there? Even the coffee is ground by hand. Everything. I was grinding spices up with a pestle and mortar the other day. We just don't have anything electrical on here. So we do manage it. We are beginning to think that towards the end of last winter, we were struggling a little bit, weren't we, when it was cold? So we might have to have the batteries checked this year, just to see what they're like. But what do you think regarding lithium?
Well, I was talking to our boat builders at Creek Boat Show the other day, and he's built a hybrid boat which has got a diesel generator, but most of it is on batteries. He wanted to fit traditional battery types, acid or whatever they're called, but the customer insisted on lithium. He didn't want to put lithium in because of the hazard of them. They can burst into flames, can't they? I don't know. I'm not up on it that much. But from our point of view, I know we've got lithium batteries in our laptops, lithium batteries in the phone. I don't think we'd go to lithium batteries for the boat because of the environmental impact and also the mining of them and how they're being mined. There's no such thing as a clean lithium battery. So if we don't have to have lithium batteries, then we won't have lithium batteries.
And I think as far as we're concerned, any use of electricity is a cost to the planet, wherever it's come from. So to give you something and make you think that it's safe and it's environmentally friendly just means you're going to use more. Well, for instance, there's a boat moored on the same moorings further along, and they've been running their generator for an hour or so over the last few days because it's not been quite as sunny, because they're obviously quite a high demand for electricity. Because we've got nothing, we don't need the electricity. And that's how I'd rather be. I'd rather not just add more power. I'd rather use less.
But we're not experts, and we're probably ignorant on the full facts of everything. But we're happy as we are. We've got as much power as we'll ever need. When the sun's shining like this, we can run the washing machine without running the engine. So that's fine. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
That sounds very, very sort of all comprehensive, really. Simon Hamilton's asked, would life be easier or more convenient for you if you had access to a car or van?
We've had a car for the first, what was it, year or so when we first got on the system, and it is such a pain. It's such a pain to have to keep going back and getting the car and bringing it to where you are, then cruising, then going back to get the car. And if you don't need a car, don't have one. Where we are, the bus system is fantastic. You can go into the nearest town. We can get the train to wherever in the country we want to, and we do. And the bus is great at the moment. The bus fares are £2 flat anywhere. So that suits us, and that we like that lifestyle. We like adventures. We actually look forward to a bus ride.
It sounds silly, doesn't it? But it is. It's a sort of a bit of a day out now. I guess once a week we'll get on the bus to a town nearby to go and get shopping and stock up on stuff. We're already planning. There's a particular Waterstones bookshop which I need to go to. That is a need, and it's a bus and 2 trains away. I can't remember. So that'll be it's a bit sad, but it'll be a day out for us. Whereas if it was a car journey, it would just be a pain because you'd have to drive and then park. And
it does make you think and plan ahead, because if you've got a car sat near your mooring, you think, oh, I'll just pop to the shops, or I'll just go and get this or whatever. So you do have to be mindful of where you're going to be. What have you got in your cupboards? Do you need to go and get something to stock up? But having said that, we think nothing of doing a 5-6 mile round trip where we are now to go to the shops with backpacks on. just to fill up, don't we?
Fortunately, you know, because neither of us have to travel to work, that would be the clincher, I guess, if you had to do that, or if you've got other family commitments. But I've got family, or we've got family down near London and in Brighton, and I recently took a train down for a day and stayed over and worked it out. Sometimes we hire a car. We do hire a car if we need one, but we don't enjoy it
We
anymore.
hired a car for Creek Boat Show, and then after Creek Boat Show, we went down to visit our daughter near Brighton. Oh man, it was awful, wasn't it? The traffic, and it took us on the way home. It took us something like 8 hours from Brighton back up to here. So no, we don't miss driving.
I guess, you know, you might say it's easier if you've got a car, but it's, you know, the travelling is part of the adventure for us now, isn't it?
And it's the expense of a car as well, isn't it? You know, anything repairs on a car these days, it's astronomical. So no, we don't miss that at all.
I suppose there's also the tricky question is, where do you keep it at night?
Well,
it's going to be a different place, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we could, while we're here now at the mooring, we did toy with the idea of getting a little camper van that we could travel off with, but for the same reasons.
Great shout.
You know, that once we've got it, great shout, yeah. For the same reason that we know that once we've got it, it changes your life a little bit, because suddenly you fancy an ice cream and you can, oh, I shouldn't have said that as a bad excuse. That's a bad reason. But you can pop into town and get it, and it just sort of seems to complicate things a little bit rather than make it easier, I think.
I don't think we'd use it enough to justify it anyway. So
no.
But I mean, it's this sort of covers off. There's a couple of points that have been made around the shopping and laundry side of things. Cecil's asked about laundry. Do you have a washing machine on board? And there's also, have you ever had any sort of issues where you haven't been that close to shops or anything like that, where it's been tricky to get to shops, or is it always generally pretty available?
It's an interesting one, actually, because I don't think we've ever been, as you said, because we will walk, I don't think we've ever felt that we can't get to shops. You can always choose to moor up near a town if you want to when you're traveling. The problem is, and it's going to sound like we're trying to be something special, but it's the quality of the shopping. For instance, we can't find greengrocers always. You can only get to supermarkets by the canals. So you haven't got the choice of shopping. I'm not sure that it's any different on a canal boat as anywhere else nowadays. I think it's just shopping has changed. But I think it's within your control. Even as a continual cruiser, you can moor up on the edge of town, and in fact we always do in the winter. If the weather's looking to turn bad, we always moor up within a mile, I guess, of a shop, even if it's a corner shop that you can get groceries. And
I think shopping when you're living on a canal boat as well is more expensive, because there isn't the variety unless you're going to moor in a town every day. There isn't the variety, and more often than not you're relying on a small co-op shop, which is a bit more expensive than the shops in the cities or the towns would be. So yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, and you're limited with variety, aren't you, as well?
But I think that the trick is to stock up, as we've said before, with store cupboard basics when you can, so that you know that you can survive without a shop. And also, you do have to change the way. You can't suddenly think, oh, we want this particular meal tonight, or we want something. It's a case of, well, what's in the cupboard? That's what you have to have. So it's just a different way of living, I think. It is for us. Anyway, there's other people out there that wouldn't agree with that you can get shopping deliveries as well. We could easily have a supermarket delivery delivered here, and they will deliver to bridges for you as well. They will phone you when they're near a particular bridge, and you'll go and collect your delivery. But we've never felt the need to do that.
We've never done it, have we?
No.
I never thought they'd do that. That's a really amazing development.
Sorry, Paul.
I never thought I'd see that, but that's a really amazing development, isn't it?
I think a lot of the supermarkets, well, if you give them a postcode and then they give you an hour's slot, and they just phone you when they're there. And as long as there's road access or a car park, you can get your shopping delivered. Lots of boaters do it, but we just haven't felt the need. So yeah.
And what about laundry? Do you actually have a washing machine on board, or do you do that when you go into towns and things like that, or is
No, we have our washing machine. Well, we've always have had a washing machine. On our first boat, we had a very interesting, characterful little twin tub that actually had a name as
Edna.
well, Edna. So that was hard work again. It was going back to the old days when you had laundry day, because it would take me ages, or a whole cruise. I could only use it when we were cruising. And but now in the summer, we've got a full-size domestic washing machine on the boat. And you can, we in the winter when the power is low, we tend to put it on when we're cruising. This time of year when the solar power is so good, we can use it anytime. Yeah, it's
We
not
do use laundrettes for quilts and stuff like that, don't we?
occasionally, yeah.
But yeah, when we need to.
And sort of moving a little bit off the practicality side of things. You know, you've already said that you've got the YouTube channel. You've also got a couple of other sort of income sources, being the weaving. I'm going to get the name wrong, but Constanza Crafts, is it? Have I got that wrong? Or
Creations.
Creations, thank you. Constanza Creations. We'll edit that bit in later, so it doesn't look so bad. So you've got sort of various sources of income to sort of help you get through the sort of day to day, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it was never the plan to make money out of all those things initially. When we first bought our first boat, the plan was to fund our travels through the rental of a holiday cottage. But gradually I became aware that people wanted to buy the scarves and the things that I was weaving. You're selling artwork as well now, aren't you? And yeah, it's become an important part of our life now. That is our work, really, and the video making is our work.
Yeah, as I said earlier on, we're employed doing things we actually like, and we're really fortunate in that sense, aren't we? So.
And it doesn't quite make as much as we need to live on. We've got a little pot of savings that we're chipping away at, but really and truly it more or less manages. We more or less manage on it, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
So it is, you know, everything I sell is so important, on everything we sell with your artwork and the stuff in our merchandise shop. It's enabling us to carry on doing this and to make the videos. Otherwise we couldn't do it, could we? So
get your floating our boat mug now, folks.
Go to floatingourboat.com. And Shelley's asked a question: if you sell online only, not physically from the boat, do you need a trader's license?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Apparently so.
Yes.
So,
yeah. It's because I don't quite know the legitimacy of it, but you do need a trader's license, and we do keep thinking of setting up shop up on Canal Side now, but we've never got quite round to it, have we?
We've never sold from the Canal Side, have we?
No, no.
Because I don't think we've ever got ahead of ourselves enough to have enough stuff to sell. And
again, it's going to be putting pressure on us to do that, isn't it?
Yeah. It just sounds like work,
but,
to be honest.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, in fact, the trader's license is quite interesting because people think it's going to be a massive expense. The trader's license is not as well as your boat license, it's instead of, and it's really not very much more money than your ordinary license. So it is worth doing, and you do get some benefits from it. I'm going to put myself out here because I don't know that Haven. No, what is it you get from traders? Oh, you know, you get benefits because you can stay in somewhere a day longer if you want to. You get an extra day at a mooring spot. So if it's only 2 days and you're trading, you can stay for 3 days. So there are some benefits, and there's some benefits with your fuel tax as well, with your diesel, if you're a trader as well. So there are some things, you know, some benefits for it, but yeah.
I hope that's answered the question. Gosh, going through the questions online, which ones to pick next is the next one. Golly. Okay. Oh, this one's kind of lame. Weaving and painting work. This is Tom Shaw's asked this. Weaving and painting work fairly well on a boat. Was that something you did before you got on the boat? Besides that and gardening, what else are you thinking of doing? That's a very long open question, that one.
Nothing. You never was a weaver really before we came on board the boat. You just got an interest in it, hadn't you, when we first mooted the idea of coming on board? So the boats that we've had to have space for Fran and her weaving, Fortunately, Fran's loom folds up very much like a clothes horse does, you know, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's only that wide when folded and waist high. But what you get out of it is amazing, isn't it?
Unfortunately, the bags and bags of wool don't fold up small.
No.
Yeah, they probably take up quite a lot of space, I would have thought.
Yeah, they do. But that's, you know, as much as the books are ballast, the wool is insulation, Paul, so it's fine.
And also, you're spinning more and more of your own stuff now, aren't you?
I am now. In fact, I've just finished spinning wool that we picked off of the fences on a walk, and I'm spinning that. I don't quite know what it's going to be. But you've always dabbled with art. Richard's got some fabulous art going back years and years and years. But life was too busy for you to do it, wasn't it?
Since being on the boat, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, I've picked up more. I don't do enough. I've had a spell now. I've done 2 months probably where I haven't really created anything. That's because the garden's taken over a bit more. But the last couple of days, I've spent all day, both days, just putting paint on paper, haven't I?
Yeah, you've had a really good day today. And what are we thinking of? Anything more we're thinking of doing? Well, we've said that we've toyed with the idea of writing a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe. I would actually quite like to start dyeing my own wool. Now I've got a little bit of space to do it outside, so I might move into that.
I think all our creative boxes are ticked at the moment, aren't they? So
you would like to write, though, wouldn't
yeah,
you? You would like to write.
I think I've got a book in me, but we'll see.
Well, I see that being a bestseller. Vera from Maryland has asked, if you have no boating experience, want to do a vacation narrowboating in the UK, how difficult is it to learn to drive or handle one?
It's not difficult at
difficult,
all. You can pick it up immediately, and most reputable holiday boat companies will give you a good hour or so at the helm before they leave you alone.
Yeah.
And it really isn't difficult to steer a boat. A lot of people do get frightened of it because at the end of the day, they're expensive things. They really are. And if you're bumping and crashing in and out of locks, you can do some damage. But the maxim is slow. Everything is slow on the canals. It's canal speed. And
we're on a couple of holiday boat routes here, aren't we? There's either side, and I know certainly this way they come out and they take you through a lock with the boat first and instruct you how to do it, and then off you go. And we haven't seen any terrible driving, have we, from people? It really isn't. And if you think about it, I'd never been on a narrowboat when we got ours, and Rich taught me from what you'd learned when you were a teenager.
Well, when we were kids, Mum and Dad had a boat when I was 10, so I'd remembered all these years how to drive a boat. And as soon as we got on Constanza, I just managed to steer it without any problem. So and then when it was Fran's turn to drive, she was quite happy as long as I was with her, weren't you? And then one day I just jumped off at a bridge heading towards a lock, and I said, well, it's your turn now, Fran, you've got to take it through.
Yeah,
that was the best thing I did, really, wasn't
it? Absolutely. Because
yeah,
I was getting to the stage where I was getting a little bit nervous. It was becoming an issue that I didn't want to do this driving into a lock, and I think we'd only been on the boat about a week, hadn't we? And I had to do it, and that's fine.
But if you fancy coming to England and hiring a narrowboat, just do it.
Yeah,
absolutely, just do it.
Yeah.
And sort of linked to that, have you guys done any other courses, engine maintenance or anything like that, or any courses that you would recommend people try before going out?
We've never done anything. We've never done a helmsman course. We've never had engine maintenance courses. We've just picked up from experience, haven't we? I
think that the beauty of the helmsman's course is if you are nervous about it, then you probably feel more confident once you've done that. What we were going to learn our way. So I was going to learn the engine maintenance and felt that I needed to do it on Constanza. I would have liked to have done a course on that, but this boat is different. It's just everything is easier to get to, isn't it? So I think maybe we should have done it. It would be a good thing to know more about the engine. I tend to leave that all to you.
Yeah, I think a helmsman course is a good thing as well. Everybody that we know who's done a helmsman course has said it's fantastic.
Yeah,
they really, apart from enjoying it, they got a lot of information out of it and put them in good stead before they even got on the boat, So Yeah, recommended.
For confidence.
Yeah.
Excellent. And is Peter Clark has asked, is there anything you would do differently if you were starting from boating from scratch? Sorry.
I don't think there is. I think I don't know. I think maybe spent another 10 or 20 grand on our first boat and got that right. But having said that, we loved how Constanza was rough and ready, and we've always said it's not about the boat. This is our lifestyle. It's not just about the boat. The boat is a vehicle. It's all out there that's more interesting to us than anything else.
Yeah. And I think we made that right decision to start off a 2-year trial. In our hearts was the right thing to do, and then reassess. We didn't just come into it and say, well, this is it. This is the rest of our lives going to be on a boat. We were ready to stay. No, this isn't for us if it didn't work. But fortunately it did. And I don't think I would have done anything differently now, looking back.
I mean, don't get us wrong. There are times when we think, oh, are we doing the right thing? Is this us for the rest of our lives? We don't know. We just don't know is the honest answer to that. And not to say we don't care is wrong, but we can't worry about the future. We don't know what the future holds. We've had so many friends and family, unfortunately, sadly, die on us in the last few years, people that are our age and younger. And so our maxim is live every day, just live it.
Yeah.
A good way to live life. I mean, that's like, that sort of covers Debbie and Mike asked, do you ever see yourselves living back on land in the future? And I think you just answered that. You never know, do you? It's
never know. No, we do. We've got this lovely image of us in a little cottage in Cumbria somewhere in the Lake District with a nice garden and roses all around. That would be ideal. But we've got that. This boat is a floating flat. It's as big as people's flats, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as comfortable as.
Yeah.
And from that point of view, I mean, this boat will last another 30, 40 years in this water, no problem, especially if it's looked after. And as long as we can get on and off the boats, I don't see any reason at the moment for us to change.
We do get itchy feet. I think after a couple of years, we begin to think, what's the next, not project, if you like, but where are we going from here? At the moment, it's been the garden, and now we've got that. We'll just wait and see. As you say, 2 years' time, we might move to a different part of the country. We just don't know. We just don't know. But at the moment, we're where we need to be. That's all we know.
We're coming down to the last few questions. You'll be pleased to hear. There's probably about 4 or 5 more questions, so we'll whiz through those. That's good. Something you said. Do you ever wish you could ever be not famous, so you could walk around boat shows looking at your leisure?
We're not that famous, really, are we? It's only the boat show, isn't it?
We're well known in a certain minuscule sphere of life.
I speak from experience on this one. People do sort of tend to gravitate towards you.
Oh.
Well, who wouldn't?
They're only human.
we loved the attention. A Crick Boat Show was amazing, if not tiring, but it was amazing. The Saturday, we got there late Friday, but Saturday all day we just did not stop all day through talking with people that watch us, we've never met before, but they feel they know us because they've watched every single video, and it's brilliant. And now we've got people shouting across the towpath, "Hi Rich, hi Fran, love your garden, nice to see you, watched you from day one, blah blah." And it's great, it is lovely, but it's not so much that it affects or interferes with our life.
It really doesn't. I mean, we can go into town and we can do what we want to do, and we're not recognised occasionally. And most people, even then, would just come up and say, "Oh, we've seen you, watch the videos, and thank you." It's not a problem, is it? And we know what Crick is going to be like. We gear ourselves up for that. And it's lovely, Yeah.
Just find a corner of the hotel to cry in every night.
Yeah, because it must be weird, because you go from the peace and tranquility of your normal day-to-day life, and then suddenly Crick must be kind of turbocharged, and everything happens in a very short space of time.
I can't pretend that we weren't really glad to get back here after Crick.
No,
well,
I can
we
imagine.
could just sort of sit down and think, oh, that's it now. Just Yeah.
I think we did say never again, but we've forgotten it already.
Excellent. I'll get that in the diary
Yeah.
then. A question from Rach, who describes herself, and this is how she's written it, as a grumpy, unorganized mad lady, just about to sell my house and take on boat life. The realism of this, please.
You can be as
Yeah.
grumpy and as disorganized, unorganized as you like. There's room for everyone. And if you don't like much room in your boat because it's full of stuff, fine.
The thing is that it's perfect because you can make your life what you want it to be. And we've always said this about the boating. Well, I won't say boating community because I'm not sure that we go along with all that boating community stuff. But there's room for everybody, all kinds of people on the boats. And you never know who you're going to be moored next to, and you never know who you're going to pass up on the canal. And if she wants to be out in the middle of nowhere with no neighbours because she's feeling grumpy, she can do that. And if she wants to be in town so she can moan at other people, she can do that. You know, you can do what you want to do. It's perfect, really, isn't it? So, yeah, go ahead with it.
The one good thing about this life is if you don't like your neighbours, you can just move.
Yeah.
And that is brilliant.
Yeah. And there's plenty of opportunities to be grumpy as well on the canals. Isn't there?
Believe me, there is.
Well, when someone crashes your boat for you. We won't get into that.
No.
Craig Foster's asked, sorry if this has been asked already. On your Laura Maisie tour vlog, you talked about having a plan for composting toilet solids waste. What was your plan?
Oh, on the Laura Maisie one. On this boat. On this boat. Yes, yeah.
It was for actually composting our waste.
Yeah.
And getting it reduced down to a physical state that it's inert.
Which is what we are doing. So we managed to store our compost for long enough that it can actually turn into safe composted waste. And we are doing that. Yeah.
Okay, and Simon Hamilton's asked, do you think YouTube has reached maximum saturation for canal cruising content?
It's not for us to say because there's, anybody's welcome to do what they like, but when we started vlogging, I think there was a dozen of us, and I've said this so many times to people, but I think there were a dozen of us vlogging at that time. I think when I last looked or counted, I think we were above 250 people vlogging. One thing it has done has made the canals really popular out there, and look at Crick Boat Show, vloggers like us, I think, have made Crick Boat Show so popular and so busy.
Yeah.
And I was talking to another vlogger who feels they don't get enough recognition for it from Crick Boat Show organisers, but I don't look for recognition.
It does seem like there's, so many boat YouTubers out there now, but if you look at some of the new ones, they still get really popular really quickly. So there obviously is always room for somebody that's doing it a little bit different. But you have to work. I think we were lucky, and I think now you have to work very hard at it. You've got to find a new angle. You can't just come in and put a camera on the front of your boat and film a cruise and expect it to be popular, because that's all been done. You've got to find a new angle. And it's still happening, isn't it? There's still, every day we're finding new YouTubers out there. So,
and we met so many at Crick, didn't we? That said, "Oh, we've done this life because of you two." And we're vlogging it as well. Well, that's great. That's really great.
I do think it's awesome in the fact that what we're seeing is a genuine rising up of popularity of, I don't want to say alternative lifestyles, but it is alternative lifestyles in a way, isn't it? Yeah. And I think what we're seeing is a genuine interest in people wanting to do research, look into it, and there's interest in the subject, which is always good, fertile ground for what you do, really.
I don't know how long it's been going on for, but I think especially since the lockdown, the pandemic and all that, I think that there's a lot more people thinking, hang on a minute, life's too short, let's just do this, and good luck to them.
Yeah.
Okay, Marcus Watkin has asked, do you think second-hand boat prices are overinflated at the moment?
Haven't really looked. We're out of touch now with the prices of boats, but we hear a lot of people say they've just gone through the roof. I was talking to somebody at Crick, and they seem to think that it's stable, and if not dipping a little bit now, and I think we may have reached saturation point where boat sales are concerned, secondhand anyway. But it's just gone ridiculous, and maybe we're to blame, people like us vlogging it, given this lifestyle feeling, you know.
I think the price of new boats went up crazily with the cost of steel going up, didn't it? And so therefore, although second-hand boats didn't have to go up in accordance, they did, because the demand was there. People couldn't afford to buy the new boat, so therefore we're looking at second-hand, and the demand has put the price up. I don't know. As you say, we're really a little bit out of touch with it, aren't we now? So
well, we have been told that, you know, this boat is 2 years old, and if we wanted to sell it, we'd probably get more than we paid for it. So from that point of view, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Should you ever want to move back on land or anything like that? So
Yeah.
Ian Curry has asked, are you worried that the government will cut funding to the CRT and that the CRT won't be able to keep up with repairs to locks, facility points and other infrastructure?
Yeah,
it's a massive worry. It really is a massive worry. I mean, whichever government's in power comes, I think it's 2027, isn't it, when the new funding comes into place, or not into place. Where they are at that point, I don't know. Everybody likes to moan about Canal and River Trust, and I'm as equally guilty of that, especially when they're cutting down orchids on the towpath, etc. But they do a pretty good job, I think, all in all, and they definitely need that funding, because there's no way that they can afford. I think they're still firefighting, chasing their tails a little bit to keep on top of all the repairs, etc.
And it seems to be that there's more and more demands put on them. The climate has caused lots and lots of water shortages, which are evident up here. We've got empty reservoirs again up here now. There's a problem at the moment with fish dying in this canal, and it's partly due to the hot weather, but also because of runoff with recent heavy rain, or the runoff from the farms and the fields has left a slurry on the canal, and the fish are dying. So the CRT are having to come in and oxygenate the canals to save the fish. So it's another expense. There's always stuff that they're expected to be doing. And when you think about it, our boat license, which is just over £1,000 a year, I think, is nothing to cover what we get from the CRT. They obviously do need more funding, and it is a worry. Yeah, it is a worry.
Boat licenses do not cover the funding they need. But they do a pretty good job, all in all. The guys on the ground, you know, they're solid people. They really, you know, want the best for this canal system, and governments are always looking to save money. So who knows what the future holds for the Canal and River Trust. Let's fingers crossed. Let's hope it survives okay.
That's brilliant. Thank you. It is, and it is true. Yeah, I think the license funding is while it's a sizable part of their budget, it's the government funding is a larger size of their budget. So yeah, it's and we all want to see our canals continue on into the future for as long as we can. No, thank you for that. I mean, one last comment, and then my favorite question, which I'm going to ask at the end. Vera's come back and said, please thank Fran and Rich for me for the encouragement. I absolutely love their sense of humor and down-to-earth style, and always look for their YouTube videos.
Thanks, Vera. Thank you.
And finally, the last question, and I know we've probably spoken about this before. Do you find the need to escape to get some me time?
Very rarely.
Very rarely. We don't get on each other's nerves. We very, very, very rarely argue. And I know a lot of people say, you know, we don't argue, but we don't. And if we do get on each other's nerves, we don't row, we don't argue about it. We just, you know, for instance, now I could go off in the garden and sulk.
You learn, because you're with each other all the time, you learn to read the signs.
Yeah.
And we've also got certain little routines. For instance, in the morning, Rich will often say to me, I'm going to wash up, you do the dogs, I've got a podcast to listen to. So I will take that as a pointer. I will take the dogs off for 3/4 of an hour. He puts the podcast on and washes up, and that's our little bit of space in a way, isn't it? But
But
that's all we do.
We did start this life because we wanted to spend time together, all the time together. We didn't want to both go off to work separately and come and meet each other in the evenings. We've done that for so many years in our lives, you know, previously.
A really good example is that when Rich is sitting editing at the dinette, he will normally sit in the position I'm in now, or we are in now. My weaving loom is behind. So if he says, "What are you doing? Are you weaving?" If I'm weaving, he'll turn around and sit the other side so he can look at me.
So you can see me.
So we can talk to each other. It's never a problem, is it really? And we do have a bedroom that closes, you know, if you want to go off and read your book for half an hour. But I don't think that often happens, is it? I have 15 minutes, 30 minutes meditation some days, not every day. And I don't know, you watch some rubbish stuff on YouTube every now and again, don't you?
We still talk to each other. We still have conversations about our days, about other topics or topics that are new to us. We find something interesting to say to each other every day, and long may it be.
Yeah.
Well, Fran and Rich, I've got to say thank you very much from all of us at Haven Knox-Johnston, and thank you from all of our listeners. You've given us a whole load of your time, a great deal of information. You've answered so many questions, which has been awesome. Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And thanks to everybody for stopping by.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's been a good attendance, and we're you know, there's some really interesting questions to sort of keep the conversation going. It's gone on a lot longer than I thought it did. But obviously, if the content of this webinar, and obviously we do other webinars around all sorts of subjects, so do feel free to check out both. Obviously, you've got Fran and Rich's Floating Our Boat channel, but do check out the Haven Knox-Johnston one as well. You've got some Haven helpful hints in there about all sorts of things as well. So don't forget to check all that out. So thank you very much indeed, and we'll let Fran and Rich go back to their evening and peace and quiet. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks a lot,
everybody.
Take care.
Bye.